Say something to the women in comics out there.
Hey, ladies! See, that's another... Oh, man.
That's something like a dude would say on the subway or something.
Hey, ladies! Why don't you read some comic books?
Alright, nice.
No, I don't know.
Nice job.
Go women. Yes.
Right.
Yay.
That you know that I never did. Hey, ladies, get funky. All the ladies in the house. The ladies.
Hello, this is Amy Reeder and Brandon Montclair. We're bringing a podcast to you through the air.
What are we going to talk about today?
Today, I just figured maybe we could talk about female in comics stuff.
Yeah, and there's a million ways you can kind of have that conversation, right? You know, some of them are great, some of them are inflammatory and still great, some of them you can go all over the map. I like what we did last week, which was, kind of give a different angle on breaking into comics, just kind of about your attitude, stuff people don't normally talk about. I don't think we can do that here, but saying it's about women in comics is too broad a topic. So we're going to talk about, your kind of experiences, the good and the bad.
Yeah, and I think it's good that it's just from my perspective, because one thing that I've noticed with, like, feminist topics and stuff is that people kind of have multiple goals in feminism, and people have different female creators have different ways that they would like to see things being done. I think there's a lot that we have in common, and I think that also everybody's thoughts are valid. But, I feel bad, like, speaking for everybody.
Well, that's good. Well, right, and we want to keep these kind of contained anyway, right? We don't want to have a 10-part.
Yeah, we're trying not to go too long.
Always. But especially, like, so with that qualification, right, it's... Here's my experiences. If you're interested in the subject, or if you're a girl who wants to be in comics, or a woman who wants to be in comics, maybe seek out other people's anecdotal experiences also, right?
Sure. Or if you're just interested in this sort of thing, you don't, yeah.
Well, you came through a very female-friendly area in the larger business, which was Tokyo Pop. More female creators than male when they started branching out.
It wasn't even an issue. Like, it didn't even cross our minds.
More female readers than male.
Yeah. The issue there was that we weren't American, and we got a lot of flack for that.
You weren't Japanese, you were American.
Yes, sorry. We got a lot of flack for that.
I think
about what constitutes as manga, and
right. And to catch people up, I was working at Tokyo Pop at the time. Tokyo Pop, their business was translating Japanese manga. And then at a certain point said, we want to make our own comics manga here, but, with the kind of, the same style and sensibilities that you see in manga, rather than it look like American comics, right? So they used manga-influenced American talent, and Amy, that's how she got her first professional gig.
Yeah. So I was met with some, stuff like that, but, like, being a female, like, literally just never crossed our minds, I don't think. So it was really weird, because then when I moved over to DC doing Madame Xanadu for Vertigo, I started being asked these questions about being a female in comics, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
And even that would be a gentle entrance, because it was Vertigo. Yeah. Not a lot of female artists at Vertigo, not a lot of female writers proportionally at Vertigo. But you did have Karen Berger running the show forever, a good female editorial presence throughout Vertigo. Like, again, not a ton of female creators, but probably more female readers of Vertigo books in general than DC or Marvel. You did work on Madame Xanadu, which was a pre-existing character, so it was kind of, it wasn't a totally unique concept. So you were, it wasn't working on superhero books at Marvel and DC, but half was. Would you say?
Sure. So, yeah, I guess a little bit.
Right.
I mean, I didn't really have much to measure it against, but yeah. So anyway, my experience there was really good. I felt like I got a lot of attention, and as a female, there are both good and bad things that have come out of being a female in comics, and just things that aren't affected either way. But yeah, as far as the good goes, like, I think you get a lot more attention for what you do, and sometimes you get hired more. Or good, more acclaim, I think.
Yes, good meaning literally an advantage.
Yeah, Yeah.
I wouldn't say, and like I said, as somebody who is, not that I did the hiring, right? Because, you're assistant editor, you have an editor above you, you have a publisher, you have a million people approving things. But, I don't know that it was easier. You would, I've said this before, you kind of look for opportunities to get female creators involved or minority creators involved. I don't think it's easier to hire them per se, but, you might get, as an object, you might get that kind of attention where it's like, Amy's really good and we don't have enough female artists working in the business, so I'm gonna, make sure she get, I'm gonna see what I can do to make sure she gets her opportunity.
Well, I mean, one thing that I've kind of observed with female creators is that, like, it's kind of hard to get in, it's hard to get that break, but once you get past that point, that's when it's pretty nice. You know what I mean? Like, that's when people are really paying attention to you and they want to give you as many chances, but they have to first see that you're proven. They have to first see that somebody else has hired you.
That's
so that's
true.
the hard
That's true
part.
with everybody, I think.
And I know that, like, and that can be hard for, no, it's true for everybody, but I think it's very true for girls, because a lot of editors, like, you're a female and you'll send them stuff. I know somebody who doesn't have a manga style at all, and she showed somebody her portfolio, and he said that it was too manga. Like, I think he just automatically saw her face and assumed that was her tastes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's true that they come up with assumptions immediately.
That'd be a disadvantage.
That's what I'm saying. It's a disadvantage, I think, until you get to the point where you've made it, kind of proven yourself, and then people really want to give you more chances.
Again, I think that would be true for anybody who has a different style, I suppose. If Humberto Ramos or if Scotty Young were showing portfolios right now.
But I'm saying this person did not have a different style. They were just a girl.
I see.
Yeah. So, and also, like, once you make it there, whenever people say, like, oh, we need to have more women in the business, the same group of women are always approached, because they've gotten to that point. So that's why it's, like, extra good once you've been sort of proven. Because there's not, like...
You become a commodity.
You do. You become a commodity, and you're one of their go-to people if they're looking for a female creator, like, expressly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think that holds you back from other things? Do you think if someone says, I have an opportunity to work with Amy Reeder, they start thinking on all the things where they need a female artist? And could that be a disadvantage? Could it be like, well, when there's an opening on Spider-Man, you get thrown in with any other male artist the same? Or is it or do you think editors sometimes have to be in I'm going to hire a female or potentially hire a female for this book to get considered?
This is where you kind of run into some trouble because you're just coming up with scenarios and it can make you a little bit paranoid. But so I even hate and hesitate to say this, but I generally think when people contact me out of the blue, that they've been thinking, I need to get a female artist.
Okay.
I feel sad saying that because I kind of wish that people would just want me.
That was exactly said, and I don't know how much it was tongue-in-cheek, but, this will go up in a couple of days. So people looking last week it was not even an interview, a conversation between Louise Simonson and Ann Nocenti, who were, big parts of Marvel in the 80s, and big parts before, after as well. She said, and it might have been tongue-in-cheek, that she got the call from, quote, DC, saying we need female writers, because she had been out of the business for, years and years. But a great writer, one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So it's like, obviously, I mean, you can react to that in two different ways.
Her reaction was, whatever, okay,
Yeah, like,
I'll take the gig.
It's like, sure, you'll take it, and it's because it's good. It's good that people are seeking out female creators. But yeah, it's true that, like, you have to kind of deal with worrying about whether you actually are good, I'm not even saying that people should worry about that. That's why I hesitate about saying this, but truthfully, it is something that you worry about, is that maybe people recognize more in your art than what's there.
Well, there are certainly, and certainly a valid point of view, where people are like, oh, I don't want to be hired because I'm a woman, I just want to be hired because I'm a good artist.
Yeah.
Right? But we certainly don't live in a colorblind world or a genderblind world where it's just based on the pages is what you're going to get hired for. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so like
it's
the way
complicated, and the presence of it being complicated. It sounds to me like it causes you stress. I would imagine it would cause anybody stress.
Yeah.
Just that you have to think about it,
Well, and so I react to that sort of thing by just very much feeling like a strong responsibility to create quality. Like, because the last thing I want is not to deserve the opportunities I'm given. And so, I mean, that's really like, I feel a lot of pressure when I draw a page, because I don't want to always be a female creator. I want to be able to get to some sort of point where I really transcend that, where it's basically like undeniable that I am good, like I want to get to like Mobius status, like, or in music, I want to get to like Bjork status. Like Bjork, she's just good, you know what I mean? And she's feminine, she's definitely feminine, like she didn't get there any other way, and people see her so respectfully. She's a real artist, and a genius, but she's a girl, and that's what I'm always like really trying to get towards. I just want to get to that point where it's just not even, where people, it's just, they can't even help themselves liking my stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't want to, you say Mobius, that's like saying, I mean, he's, give yourself 30 years, right? But I think you have achieved a certain respect in the industry, and you have a fan base. You have you're in a position where you can call up Marvel and get a gig today. You could call up, well, today, we're actually recording on a Sunday, but you could call up on Monday and get a gig from Marvel. You can call up on, DC and get a gig. You could call Vertigo and get a gig. You could call Valiant and get a gig. You could call Top Shelf and say, I want to do something. You've worked for Image before. There's really no place that would, they'd have to find the right book. They'd have to find the right personality fit with, editors and teammates, writers and whatever, if that's what you were doing. You can't write your own ticket, but if you're available, they will say, oh, well, I should get something for Amy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, some of that's, to me, honestly, you being a female would only be icing on the cake. I mean, you're that good, you're that well known.
I mean, I do feel like I feel like they are happy to hire me. Like, I don't feel like they think that they're settling. So that's good. That makes me feel a lot better. Like, that they're settling by getting a female artist with me. I think that's why they approach me, is because they, like, even if they don't know a lot of female artists, like, they think that I'm good. So I mean, I don't feel like they're just settling for me or anything. But yeah, I really do. I want to be like so good that I want to be a legend. But
how much of that is being part of that is just you.
Well, yeah, but part of that is because like I'm a female creator, and like I want to be the next Frank Miller. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to go to the point where it's starting to erase that ever even being an issue, is being female. I don't know.
So, but what's the other? So that's, like you said, a kind of an ideal.
Yeah.
And attainable, sure. It's also could be used as an excuse. Like a lot of times people say, oh, I don't hire male or female. I don't hire black and white, or I don't hire gay or straight. I just hire the best person for the job. Yeah,
and you probably heard a lot of that when you were working in...
Sure, and it's valid, but I think you always have to be careful if you're going to make that statement to see your stable of creators, and make sure that they're not all white, male, and heterosexual. You know what I mean? Because
that just kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit. Like,
well, I mean, it really does, and a lot of people say, well, I just care about good stories and fans, and you should, but when something becomes so, heavily balanced towards one type of creator or one type of story or one type of character, even, you know what I mean? It's like, say, well, that's not a product of just, hey, it's the best people getting the work at any given time. There's something in the culture that creates that, and that's why I think it's perfectly valid going the other way and saying we need to say it like Anno Senti said, we need female writers is a bit crass, but maybe that's what it all boils down to. Like I said, certainly you need a diversity of voice, you need a diversity of style.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think it's all really important stuff. I thought I'd also just say like I'm sorry to just randomly skip subjects, but then I was like, I thought I'd say like ways that maybe I'm negatively affected by it. You
Okay.
know, the biggest thing by being female, the biggest thing is actually like maybe not. It's more about cultural gender. I like girly things, and my style is I like to think that it's feminine. You know, like it's got some things that straddle or whatever, but it's pretty feminine, and so that's kind of the biggest thing that's worked against me in the industry, and that's been tough. Like, you know, especially working in the DCU.
Yeah, well, like I said, you could call up Marvel, but you'd have to get a really cool editor to say, okay, I'm going to give you Wolverine, you know, or Punisher.
Well, yeah,
because of your because of your style. And, you know, you could say that with a lot of male artists. I wouldn't put X artist on Y title, you know. But,
I don't know. Sometimes they will put you on there, but then they still expect you to draw it like a dude.
Well, yeah.
And that's what's hard for me because, like, I found that when I was working for DC, like, bless their hearts, but but like I felt like so self-conscious about my level of femininity that I was constantly thinking about how feminine or masculine I am.
In
Like
some
suddenly I was
the,
like
in some
really
of
defining
the
it.
editorial art direction.
Yeah, like just like with the covers, they kept like not publishing certain ones and saying that they wanted quote unquote action covers. But like then I would draw action and it was like too defensive and not offensive. And it just like, I mean, I just kind of felt like maybe I don't want to draw two people punching each other down in a cover because that's never been interesting to me.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of it's a complicated thing because what I'm asking people to do is accept me as somebody who is distinctly different.
Well, that's
you know
hard,
versus
right.
like the philosophy of women can do it just exactly what men do. You know, just as well.
Well, yeah. But that goes down to an old editorial saw where it's like, if you don't want if you don't want it to look like an Amy Reeder cover, don't hire Amy Reeder to do it.
Sure. But yeah, so that's the biggest thing that I've dealt with, and that's why it's so nice to just go on my own, because I don't have to think too badly about that anymore. Like, I still really try to make things so that they attract both sexes. You know, and I think that...
You have plenty of male... You have... Listen, because of the
I think
way
I have more male fans.
But that's
than
down to the
female.
industry, not... That's down to the audience pool, I would say.
Yeah. That's something that's tough.
So what could an editor do to be more... I mean, just let you do your own thing? Because now you're doing your own thing because at Image, you know, with Halloween Eve and the next project you're doing is Creator Owned, you know, you're doing your own thing because you don't... Well, I mean, I think every artist wants to be left alone, but you feel that, you know, you've got another added expectation to do something that's not a natural fit for you, which is draw more like a guy. You know, more like a dude, as you say.
Yeah.
Is it just being hands off? Is it selecting projects? Is it selecting collaborators? What, you know?
I mean, it's a little bit of all of that. You know what would be really nice if somebody at Marvel or DC could do is just like have me write and draw a character, because like I feel like and like relaunch a character, reimagine it.
Sure.
The hard part, one hard thing is just like trying to have all of that history weighing down on me on how everybody else has drawn it. But that's like, I mean, that's not
what
really...
everyone asks for, male or female.
Sure, yeah. But
I'm saying it's a dilemma.
Yeah, so I don't know. So that's kind of a thing, and then also I get more confronted with being a female in comics at conventions and stuff. Like,
what do you mean confronted?
Well, I mean, like, I would say like my fan base is pretty awesome, and they're really appropriate, but sometimes like you get somebody who just seems kind of like
lonely,
a little too excited that I'm female and draw comics, you know what I mean, and kind of can abuse that a little bit because I'm behind this table, and that must mean that I just like want to just be subject to whatever they say. That's not too bad though. Like I really haven't had too much of that. But also in conventions is like I've been invited to a few conventions this year, and a couple of them just emailed me to ask me if I could be in their Women in Comics panel. So it's like that's one thing. Like I'm actually always happy to be in those, and I know some female creators who really would rather not be. I like to talk about this as an issue because I think it's something that's like important to bring up. You know,
and
what I mean?
Not just to discuss as an issue, but I think it's good just to be up. You know, it helps generate the female audience, doesn't it?
That's the biggest thing, is just the audience and letting them know that we're here and that they can get into the industry too. But like,
That's
yeah,
right,
whenever
the
they do
audience
that,
and
I
future
think
generations.
like, you know, haven't they ever heard the weird, you know, thing that like, you know, you can put me in a women in comics panel, but you really haven't helped the situation until you put me in a panel that's not about women in comics. You know what I mean? So it's like kind of this weird
Well, again,
issue.
your expertise doesn't stop at being a woman.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I always try and say, like, I like to be in other panels too, just so you know.
Well,
Not that they take a hint, but...
Well, maybe be more forceful. Say, I definitely will, but I will only do that if I'm also on a regular drawing panel or my favorite comics panel, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I could. I don't know. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but yeah, so... there's that. And also just one more thing. Like,
I think a lot of times, and I think you should be forthright, because I think a lot of time organizers don't want to give you too many panels because they assume that people don't want.
Well, but I just told them that I want to.
Yeah, but they
do
got a lot.
more panels.
They got a lot on their minds, so maybe you got to tell them twice.
Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, so...
I got to be told twice sometimes.
Yes. Okay, so anyway, and then there's just one more thing that I was thinking about, is that, like, one thing that bothers me, so just, you know, I'm saying this in case anybody here, because it's usually from well-meaning people, is they'll introduce me as the lovely and talented Amy Reeder. And I don't think that there's any female comics artist that wants to be introduced that way. I like thinking of people that I know and stuff.
I don't think you need to explain. It's, you know,
Yeah.
exactly. You know, although
well,
as
I
a
think you do,
counterpoint,
because so many people do it. It's like I don't need to be assured that I'm lovely. And saying that makes it feel like I'm a performer. You know, that's a sort of something that you would say about a performer, not a comics artist.
well, they're not. Unfortunately, they're not saying it about, you know, Simon Bisley. You know.
Yeah, the handsome and...
Well, I mean, even lovely.
Yeah, it's a little bit offensive because it makes it feel like, oh, do you want me to draw for you? It's my trick, you know? So, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. There's just some thoughts that I had, but yeah, every female has different experiences, so I guess the most important thing is just listening. So.
Well, that's true. Like with almost anything, any subject, if you're interested in comics, as you know, as getting into the business or just the inner workings, because you're such a big fan, so much of it is nuance, you know, that, you know, it's hard to take a class, it's hard to listen to an interview, it's hard to say, how do I become a penciler, how do I become an editor, you know, what's up with, you know, whatever question you have, the answer is always going to be, my answer always is, I'll tell you what I think, but make sure you ask 10 other people, because you're gonna get 10 different answers.
Yep.
All right,
Well,
until next time.
Until that next time.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
Hey, ladies! Hey, ladies! One more time. Ain't it funky now?